Hi, we're Harriet and Mauro, and for the last 3 years we've been renovating our little stone cottage, growing our own food and accumulating animals here in the hills of eastern Spain. We've spent most of the last year working on renovation projects on our house and honestly neglecting our land ever so slightly. Between installing proper doors and windows, replacing our old leaky roof, knocking down a couple of chimneys, levelling floors, tiling absolutely everywhere, building our off-grid kitchen and pantry from scratch, and totally redoing our water system for the house, we've had our hands pretty full, but now we're slowly turning our attention back to outside. We built raised beds around the house to have veggies and herbs in easy reach, brought a water point close to these beds, started a massive clean-up out the front and round the back of the house, rendered the front of the house and fixed some guttering issues, and now I think the next 12 months are going to see us move even further away from the house and really turn our attention back to the wider land. As usual, this is not the job I was intending to do. I was going to just come out here and clear a little bit of area around where our main water pipe goes, our irrigation pipe, so that I could get to a section of it and put a new tap in. As I said when I installed the first tap that we have up on the top, like terrace level, we did want to put a tap on every terrace level that we've got for easy access to the plants that are growing along that section. This is the second terrace down. This is where we are on an aerial view right now. This terrace is also planted with some roses and some fruit trees. One raised bed that I built a while back. We've got our 2 lemon trees here. We've got this Yerba Luisa, some quince trees, lots of stuff that I really want to get water to because it's really suffering in these hot summer days at the moment. So I wanted to get another tap in on this terrace, and then bum 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 all the way down we'll put more taps in as we start growing more things back in the main garden area again. Anyway, all that is to say, that is not the job I ended up doing. I've cleared way more than I needed to. And I actually realised that it was a good chance to start clearing the access to the next field that adjoins our land, and this is the field that we're going to be buying any day now. As you can see from this aerial map, this field that we're buying adjoins our land on the eastern side. But yeah, this is one access point that we have. We also have an access point which could be restored a little bit and enable vehicles to get onto this field around the back of the house. It's really important, I think, to have an access point around the front, and this is what this is going to be that I've been clearing this morning. This section of stone wall that borders between the two properties has fallen down quite a lot in this section, which is why I think it could be a good point to construct some sort of access, just foot access, just for us walking through here. I think potentially with the rocks that have fallen down, maybe there's a bit of a concrete beam that I pulled out of the area that I was tidying up. Potentially I can rearrange these rocks into some sort of a step-like system, throw some concrete over them and make a set of steps down here. Okay, so from this side, we've got the beginning of a step, and I've put the pipe in place where it needs to go. This is the irrigation pipe, and the idea is for it to lie on top of this wall, and then put like roofing tiles along it and cap the whole thing with cement so that it's protected out of the sun and stable in place. So that's now where it needs to go. But on this side, I feel like I need to start moving stones out of the way before I can even begin to rebuild. So I think that's what I'm going to have to do. Okay, I just had to go and put a couple of beers in the freezer because this is definitely a job that requires a cold drink at the end. Obviously, I've never done anything like this before. I've never repaired or built a stone wall. I don't know what I'm doing. There's a high chance I could be making everything a lot worse and it might all just fall down. See all these little stones here are normally like inside the wall. You have like the big stones on the outside and then the inside is like filled with all the little ones, but they've all like spilled out here, so I don't know, I'm kind of trying to roughly keep the different sizes of stones separate, but also not move the stones too much. This wasn't meant to be a massive project. I hope it doesn't turn into one. At this point, I couldn't move any more stones without the wall beginning to fall down even more, so I started placing them back in their position, with the biggest ones forming the outside row of the bottom step area. Little by little, it started coming together. At least I could see it coming together. It's actually a lot of fun. As long as the stones are here and I don't have to go and get them myself, I feel like I could do this all day. One thing that I learned the other day, I can't remember what channel it was on, or I would credit them, but when you have long, big stones, long flat stones, it's better to lay them like, how to explain? It's better to lay them like this, pointing back into the wall, rather than like pointing outwards. It gives a lot more stability, apparently, so you know what I mean, right? Okay, this is what it's looking like right now. Hopefully you can see how we've got the big stones around the edge forming some sort of a step, and then the little stones and the rubble all in the middle just to pack in the space. It's pretty solid, the bit that I've built. The bit that is all falling down is not so solid, but at least the bit that I've done is more solid than it was before. Okay, the steps lost their definition a little bit, and it still looks like a massive pile of rocks, but it's a better pile of rocks. And I think I'm done for today. I'm just tired. That's why I'm wobbling. It is actually very stable. It's just my legs that are weak. Just popped over here to the new land to take a look at the carob. It's ready, actually. Most of it is on the floor already, but yeah, it's perfect, ready for picking up and harvesting. Hopefully we'll be able to harvest it this year in a couple of weeks. I mean, I think we can already. I'm sure the guy wouldn't mind, but yeah, it's definitely been a process getting this land, which started a long time ago with a search for the owner, because the records that we were able to consult in the town hall were not up to date. So it's been a long story and adventure, which I will share with you all soon. But yeah, quite a few productive carob trees in this field, which is very exciting. But anyway, what I actually wanted to do was just take a moment to talk to you about our partner for today's video, Lingoda. I think one of the questions I get asked more than anything about my new life here in Spain is how did I learn Spanish? Era una tarde cualquiera para el sapo. You see me speaking in Spanish now and then in videos. Sometimes I even do whole videos in Spanish. Burro. No puedo. Burro, burro.
Sí, es la U. La U no la dices suficiente.
And yeah, the answer to the question of how I learned, I think, has a long or a short answer. And the short answer is with lots of online classes with real professional teachers. Before I even came to Spain, I was learning Spanish with Lingoda. I was taking a lot of classes, and it was honestly just a hobby at that point, something really fun, which I enjoyed. I'm really glad that Lingoda was part of my language learning journey from the very beginning, because I think it's very easy to get sidetracked and lose motivation and waste time with the wrong approach and with resources that don't really work for you and for me. And what I always say is that real experienced teachers guiding you face to face through your own language journey really is something you cannot beat. Let's go see if this other carob is looking good this year. This one has totally fallen down, but it's still obviously growing from somewhere, and it's got a lot of fruit on it as well. Mira que bonito. Anyway, Lingoda have 3 different styles of class that you can take depending on your flexibility and situation. I have done the sprint classes several times in the past, the sprint challenges, which have always been really fun and really boosted my speaking skills. But these days I normally do the flex classes just now and then when I get a chance, usually in the evenings when Santi's in bed. I love how easy it is to find a class, just scrolling through the booking system, looking for things that interest you. I can always find something at a time that suits me. The classes are always small, so there's always loads of chance to practice, and they're just a lot of fun. The teachers really know what they're doing, and I always feel really good afterwards, like I've really achieved something, worked my brain a little bit, and I've usually pushed myself out of my comfort zone a little bit, which always feels really good. So if you're thinking about picking up a new hobby or trying to build back motivation with language learning, definitely check Lingoda out. If you use the link in my description or the code HarrietSeptember, you will get 20 euros off when you sign up, and you can claim up to 20 free private classes as well. Give them a go, I don't think you'll be disappointed. Thank you for partnering with us on today's video, and let's get back to clearing up the garden. Okay, I didn't think that was in cement. So I do want to cement in all of these rocks. I said already that I would be capping the top of the stone wall with cement, so at that point all of this will just get amalgamated into that. Hopefully I'll just prop it in position with big rocks for now, and then the rest of these steps, which are going to look more like steps once I've done the cement part, I do want to just define the stairs a little bit more by chucking a load of mortar all over here. Then on the top level, where it's going to be like kind of flat, again just chuck a load of mortar on the top there to define the top of it and keep everything in place. Definitely not going to be doing that now because it's way too hot, but what I will do today is just finish off piling up big stones on the top, hopefully leaving everything nice and secure so it doesn't fall down before I get a chance to mortar it all. And then this post here, as you can imagine, is going to be the post for the new tap that I'm going to put in. This might surprise you to hear, but there is actually a simpler system of doing this than this. Here I was reducing from a 40mm to I think a 20mm pipe, so there were a lot of reducers, but I've actually found this nifty little gadget which is like a clamp onto the general pipe. You drill a hole and this just takes off a branch like of whatever size you want, so this is a 25mm clamp thing. I've only bought one just to try with and check that it works and it doesn't leak and I know how to use it, but it looks like it's going to be a much simpler system. Okay, I've just put a couple of big stones there temporarily to keep the pipe and the post in place. Let's go and get the bits I need to get this tap installed.
Might be something I forgot, but all I know is that I miss you a lot, a lot. 7 days of eternity, 7 days in another country. Every cell screams stay right here, and my legs they freeze us in fear.
I was just sitting here looking up there and the next tap is literally like 5 meters away. I was just thinking, why have I put this tap here? The other tap is just there. But yeah, it does make sense because the issue is that the other tap is up a terrace level and it's a real pain walking all the way back round through the garden, round the front of the house to get to that tap to turn it on and off, which is why I really wanted one down here. I was just doubting myself for a second, like, why have I done this? But no, it's fine. Having slightly changed the position of the irrigation pipe to lay it on the wall, I needed to shuffle it around in a few other places too. Teflon everything and tighten, but not too much. Right, need to come back with the tightener. Okay, moment of truth. Let's pop round to the bottom terrace and take a look at all the joins. Wow, that is so cool. This thing actually seems to be working. There's not a single drop. Tap, all dry. Let's just check my cap at the end. Also looking leak free, so that, oh no, there's a leak. Okay. Okay, that's fine, I'll fix that in a minute. Let's try attaching a hose then. Alright, moment of truth. Water coming out of a hose will never not make me happy. Now that I had easy access to water in this area, I decided to continue clearing around this area, which we'd never really cleared since we arrived on the land. There were a couple of quince trees and a loquat tree along here which I wanted to give some attention to, and this seemed like the perfect time. I cleared around the base of these trees and ended up with loads of old dry sticks which I broke down into kindling. As usual, whenever you start digging around on our land, you come across a pile of rubbish somewhere, and this spot was no exception. I should have expected it really, since nothing that looks like an innocent pile of compost really is an innocent pile of compost. Buried beneath all the sticks were old pieces of broken down furniture, lots of plastic rubbish, some rubble, a collection of metal sticks, and all sorts of other things which I categorised and dealt with as I came across them. And yes, that's a ladder I found in the undergrowth as well. I'm not sure what we're going to do with that, but I'm sure it'll be useful somewhere down the line. One of the most interesting things I found were these two big metal sheets. One of them was in the adjoining field and the other one was on our side of the wall, but I had an idea in mind for them. I wondered if I could use them as a roof on the new duck shelter that I wanted to build out of an old IBC, but the more I thought about it, the more I began to wonder whether recycling an IBC was actually more trouble than it's worth. When it comes to cutting a door for the ducks to go in, that's fine. I can cut a small door in the plastic, but I would also need to cut a bigger one for us to reach in and get the eggs out, and I'm not sure if it's worth all the angle grinding that would involve. Either way, I can't use the angle grinder to cut metal here in the field at the moment, so I'll have to keep thinking about this one and maybe come up with a better idea. Meanwhile, now that I was a tap fitting expert, I did have a plan to put in 5 more identical taps across the farm so that we could more easily get water where we needed it, but my plan was scuppered by the fact that I couldn't get hold of any more saddle clamps. The shop I'd bought the first one from was closed for 2 weeks for a holiday, which always happens in August, and none of the other local shops seemed to stock them or even know what I was trying to buy. And they tried to resell me a bunch of reducers. No thank you, I wasn't making that mistake again, so I had to order them online. Whilst I was waiting for them to arrive though, I started work on getting the pipe perfectly ready to receive its new taps, and the first job was burying it, something I've been meaning to do for a long time. Sorry, little plant. I do hate to dig up a plant that is thriving. Sorry about that, but just know that plant is everywhere. Grows all over the place, so try not to feel too bad for it. Just as I was digging out this channel, I just had a genius idea. I'll see if I can show it to you on an aerial map so you know what I mean. But I was just thinking, why don't we just take the water pipe everywhere the channel goes? Instead of bringing the water pipe up to the polytunnel, running it along the top of the stone wall, which is where it goes at the moment, and capping it, which is quite a lot of work, we've actually got channels on the other side of the garden that go up around the main garden area and close enough to the polytunnel in that area back there. So why don't I just run everything through the old watering channels, and that's a much easier job. It does mean digging out quite a lot more channel, but I think that's the better option. Can't believe I didn't think of that before. Okay, so just to show you roughly what my plan was with this pipe in this channel, I was going to just come along and lay roof tiles over it, something like that, fill in the rest with gravel. I've got loads of gravel still lying around at the base of the fallen down belt end over there, and then on top of that, just to level it all off, cap it with concrete. And then while we were at it, I did want to also do a line of bricks along this edge, along the edge of the gravel path, which, well, it was a gravel path before it got overtaken by weeds, but I sort of fix up this edge a little bit and maybe put like a row of bricks along here just to stop all of the gravel from falling off the path, which is what it does at the moment. Just thinking whether there's a better way to do that that doesn't take so much effort. Could also use stones, I guess. Stones might be better because they don't require such a flat base to sit on, and this is not very flat. Okay, I need to think about that. But let me know what you think about this idea. Maybe I shouldn't cap anything with concrete. Maybe I should just leave it with gravel so that it's easier to get to if I ever need to. But I should say as well that obviously I won't be putting concrete or anything over any parts of the pipe that have joins in. They need to be accessible. So any parts that have joins, like these ones here, I'll leave them exposed. I won't cover them up at all. And we'll just put, you know, rocks and bits of material over them to protect them from the sun and just keep them somewhat protected, but easy to access if we ever need to. So yeah, let me know what you think.
I'm trying new feed.
Hope you enjoy it.
They also sell the wheat and corn separate, and you can make your own mix and stuff like that. I just don't like the feeding them the processed pellets. There's bread, cabbage, kale, tomatoes, corn, blueberries, there's moldy blueberries.
Delicious.
Maybe some zucchini, some flour.
How many did you got under her? This section is hard work. Okay, let's do this. I still have a few more pieces of pipe that I need to Teflon and tighten, and then hopefully I can get all of my taps in. If you're bored of seeing us work on irrigation, just think how we feel. Let's let that be the last time I have to fix that valve. Looking good. Okay, that had more pressure than I was expecting. I had to turn the water off, but obviously there was still water in the pipe. Cool. On to the next one. Number 2, this will make it so much easier to get water to the chickens. Number 3, done. Number 4, it's a short little tap, that one, but it's a short little post because it broke. Alright, I probably need a slightly longer hose, but now with these taps I've put in, I can water any area of the garden, which is more of an orchard at the moment, but I can water any of these trees from any side. I'm also close to the polytunnel, and are not quite finished, if you can see behind me, compost bays over there. So we've now got water access with our high pressure water from the deposits up the hill coming down to all the areas of the garden that we've got things growing, all 3 like terrace levels. We've got water coming down, and I'm just having second thoughts about the 5th tap. I was going to pop it over on the far side of the field where we haven't really got anything happening at the moment. The bell tent was in this field, we've got the chickens in this corner here, but there's nothing else really happening. But we have got a few trees planted along the far edge, along the edge of the barranco, but they all have drip irrigation that's going to them and it's working quite well, so I don't really need a tap over there. So I might just hold off on that final tap. At least we have the pieces, so if we start using these taps and realise we could do with one more somewhere in the middle, I can add one at a later date. But yeah, that job is done. Hopefully this work will make it a lot easier for us to water trees, because it's been a bit of a chore at the moment, some of them that aren't on the drip irrigation lines. When we used to have our main deposit filled with water, we used to have a pump and a really long hose which drew water out of the deposit, and we used to go around all the trees and all the garden with that hose, and it stretched everywhere that we needed it to. Now that we don't have water in that deposit, I could have just installed one tap and used that really long hose in the garden, but I thought it was better to install multiple taps and just make our lives a little bit easier, and I think it really will. Just noticed these grapes here. Ooh, not far off. But yeah, I'm glad that job is done. Obviously the posts are not in yet. That's because I'm not doing any cement. I can't remember if I said earlier, but I didn't want to do any cement until it's a lot cooler, because it'll just crack. So holding off on that, holding off on covering up the pipes. It's been looking like it might rain for about 4 days now, and we keep getting our hopes up. I just don't think it is. Anyway, I think that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next one.